Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. Today is Sunday, June 28th, and this is the Listen Up Girl podcast, and it is day 28 of Pride Month. And today is not just any Sunday. Today is the day. Today is the day of the 57th anniversary of Stonewall. Today is the day 2.5 million people fill the streets of Manhattan. Today is the day the march steps off the 26th Street and 5th Avenue at noon and ends, as it always does, in front of the Stonewall Inn on Christopher Street. Today is that day. Again, I'm Zach Randall-Friedman, and this is Listen Up Girl, and we have a full episode worth of news to get through. Because even on the biggest Pride Day of the year, the community keeps making headlines. So our first story is, of course, the 57th New York City Pride March. Let's start with what's happening right now. The 57th New York City Pride March steps off today at noon from 26th Street and 5th Avenue, and it passes directly by the building where it all began. New York City Pride's 2026 theme is For All of Us, inspired by a quote by Marsha P. Johnson. There is no pride for some of us without the liberation for all of us. A Black trans woman who was present at the Stonewall Uprising and spent decades supporting the most marginalized members of this community. This is exactly who you want anchoring your theme in a year like this one. This year's Grand Marshals are Dominique Jackson, Peppermint, Birdie Wagon Blast, My Friend, Bowen Yang, and Gays Against Guns. New York City Pride Executive Director I'm Lind has said the community is determined to march on even as Pride events face attacks around the world. The invitation is open to everyone near and far to join the birthplace of Pride and to keep fighting for equality for all of us. The march ends near the Stonewall Inn on Christopher Street, the corner where it all began in 1969. If you can't be there in person, WABC 7 is broadcasting live starting at noon. 57 years, Marsha P. Johnson, 2.5 million people, and it's all today. Next, Hayley Kiyoko is proud, boldly, and unapologetically. From March to the Music, singer Hayley Kiyoko gave a major Pride Month interview this weekend. And her message is simple. I'm so proud to be a lesbian openly, boldly, and unapologetically. Hayley, who built one of the most iconic queer fan bases in pop music, described her community and their work as a massive safe space and of hopeful queer love. In the media landscape where LGBTQ visibility gets attacked daily, Hayley said being this is unequivocally and the most joyful about who she is. And on the last day of Pride Month, this is exactly the energy we need. Say it louder, Hayley, we are all behind you. Next, Florida cities tell DeSantis to go paint something else. Ron DeSantis tried to erase rainbow crosswalks in Florida. He forgot who lives in Florida. Across Florida, cities have been finding creative ways to keep visible signs of LGBTQ plus inclusion alive after the governor moved to eliminate rainbow-themed street art. And in the last three cities, St. Petersburg, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami Beach, that is exactly what happened. St. Petersburg transformed the steps of City Hall into a giant progressive pride flag. Fort Lauderdale brought a Circle of Love rainbow display to Sebastian Street Plaza near the beach. And St. Pete had also blasted a 60-mile-long rainbow laser across the night sky. The state said no rainbows and crosswalks. The city said, fine, we'll put them on the steps of City Hall and in the sky and everywhere else you forgot to ban. That is resistant looks like when it is joyful. And thank God Ron DeSantis will be out of there sooner than we know. Next, queer veterans get a photo exhibit that sees them. A new photo exhibit celebrating queer veterans opened this week, and participants say it is bringing a healing and unity in a way they didn't expect. One veteran who sat for the exhibit said, for the first time I spoke about my service and myself being gay, and the response so far has just been incredible. And that matters. Queer veterans have served this country by hiding who they are, and many still carry that weight. An exhibit that centers their full humanity, their service, and their identity is the kind of visibility that does something real. If you are near the exhibit, go, and if you know a queer veteran, send them this episode so they can hear how they're being honored. Adventure Time returns with a Queer Side quest. Adventure Time Queer Side Request premieres today on Hulu. If you're not familiar with Adventure Time, It's been around and has been one of the most beloved, critically acclaimed animated series of the past decade and has long been celebrated for its queer representation, including a confirmed lesbian relationship between Marceline and the Vampire Queen and the Princess Bubblegum. Side Quest is a new series of stories expanding that world. It drops today, June 28th, Stonewall Day. Coincidence, maybe, but I'm choosing to think it's a gift. And then next, Gallup says support is sliding, and here's what that means. And now for the number that is uncomfortable but necessary. A new Gallup survey conducted in May of 2026 finds that about 65% of U.S. adults support legal same-sex marriage, down 6 points from the peak of 71% around 2022 and 2023. The decline is largely driven by Republicans. 4 years ago, a majority of Republicans supported same-sex marriage at 55%, and that number is now at 37%. Trans issues tell an even sharper story. Only 5% of Republicans say changing one's gender is morally acceptable, down from 22% 5 years ago. So here's what it means. It means that the anti-trans, anti-queer political campaign being run by the orange convicted felon and his allies is working, at least on Republican voters. It means that visibility and advocacy are not optional, and it means that what we do every single day, showing up, speaking up, and refusing to disappear, matters more now than it has in years. Today, 2.5 million people march in New York City, and that is also data. So that's your news for today, day 28 of Pride. The last day, Sunday, June 28th, 2026. The New York City Pride March is stepping off right now. Hayley Kiyoko is proud that she wants you to know about it. Florida cities are putting rainbows on their city hall steps. Queer veterans are finally being seen. Adventure Time dropped a Pride gift on Hulu. And the Gallup numbers remind us of why this is not optional. 57 years ago tonight, the people at Stonewall Inn decided they weren't complying. The decision changed everything. Don't you ever forget you are a continuation of that story. If you've been listening all month, thank you. This show only exists because you show up every day. If Listen Up Girl has meant something to you this Pride Month, the best thing you can do is subscribe, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or whatever platform you're listening to, and share this episode with someone who needs it. I'm Zach Randall-Friedman, and this is Listen Up Girl. Happy Pride, and go out and march and have a wonderful Sunday. Thanks so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow, June 29th, 2 days left of Pride. Thanks.